Okay, so we had to take another pause because there was baby vomit. Okay, so anyway, to get kind of back to where I was, where we have all this smart technology now that is constantly listening to us, and we don't really even know the extent of what these things are doing to us, like the tablets and the Xbox games and all the different things that are working at play here. And not only are they maybe listening to us, but they could also be doing other damage to us through, like, if you know how electricity and radios and all those types of wavelengths of things work, you can understand that to have a tablet or a smartphone or whatever, that's connected to Wi-Fi's and all the things, all that energy that is flowing around, it affects us. And if we're constantly staring at a screen all the time, we are being very heavily bombarded with all sorts of energy. And who's to say that these powers that be, that are higher, that are more in control and more in power, that work in secret, or even out in the open? I mean, because they do tell us some of these things. Who's to say that they did not, like I said, evolve with all the technology that used to be created that is now being used against us in ways that we don't even understand. So, I mean, like, have you kids heard of Big Brother?
No. I know the game show, Big Brother.
It's kind of a similar thing to the game show. There was also a TV show. It was a series, a reality series called Big Brother. Dad can tell you a little bit more about that.
Well, what the TV show Big Brother was is basically a bunch of people inside a house that were being watched constantly by cameras for...
That's what the Roblox game is.
It's probably based off the same thing. Yes.
Yeah, probably. Where everything they did was watched and filmed and recorded, which is basically what our society is turning into. Like a TV show I used to watch, Person of Interest. That's basically what they did. Is there was a program that was created by the guy that tapped into all the cameras and everything else and tracked everything and predict when something was supposed to happen, or could tell whenever the algorithm that was used could tell whenever someone was supposed to do like a terrorist activity or commit a crime or any of that nature. It was designed to help prevent the crimes, kind of like the movie Minority Report, where they could tell the future of what was supposed to happen, and they could use that information to put people in jail. That's what the movie Minority Report was about. Which all those things are basically kind of like little breadcrumbs of what the country's trying to do.
So, like I said, how they tell us ahead of time what they're planning, and then they do it.
And there's also like say the traffic cameras. Like if you run a red light, the camera will take a picture of you and your license plate, and then they'll mail you a ticket. Doesn't even require a cop. It's an automatic system that does that. And that's in a lot of the bigger cities.
Like in Vegas.
Yeah. So
Right where we were.
all the cameras are constantly keeping an eye on everyone, keeping tabs on everyone, and then like cell phones, all cell phones have GPS in them nowadays.
They also have Alexa built into them.
They can track your movement. They can know where you are, what you're doing, and all that stuff. And like the police can actually get all that information given to them. So even if you don't realize it, your phone is still tracking you on everywhere you go. So if the police want to, they can map out the entire route that you went as long as you have your cell phone with you.
And also, did you know that even if you physically turn off GPS, if they decide that they want to, they can force your
they can remotely turn it on.
To remotely turn that GPS on.
Yeah, because
even if you have it powered off,
you can't
they
delete
can power it on. The phone itself, if you have it off, they can power it on. Just like with a smart TV.
Really easily.
Just like with a smart TV, it's the same thing. What makes us think that they're not doing the same thing with the TVs and with anything else. If they can do it with the phones, they can do it with the smart TV
It's
stuff
kind
that
of
they're
like
bringing.
how it knows how many steps you take.
Well, it's also kind of like at work. At work, I can remote into it's a thing called remote desktop, and I can remote into the programming for all the HMIs throughout the plant, and I can reset their HMIs. And like if they're trying to click on something, I can move the mouse, and it moves the mouse cursor on them, so they don't click on what they want. Like same way with the government, they can remote into anything and track or manipulate what you're seeing or what you're doing without you really realizing it at times.
And if you
What,
are
and-
someone, oh, go ahead.
Well, one time I was watching YouTube and I was trying to watch an educational video by J Dreamers and it randomly clicked off onto a different channel. I didn't even mean to click. I thought it was just me accidentally moving the mouse, but now Dad said that and it kind of makes sense that it wasn't.
Oh, and that's like YouTube. When you're watching YouTube videos, it always comes up with what's watching next, and it has all those different deals next to it.
Has similar things.
Those are cookies that are tracking that. So they're tracking the type of things that you watch, or they use the keywords,
Like the homepage, like the recommended stuff.
or they use the keywords for what that video is tagged with, and they put all those other videos next to it that are like saying, well, these are all related to that. Maybe you'll like watching one of those, and they're trying to tailor you to keep watching certain things.
Either that or just continues watching the series you're watching. Like in,
If you're on a series, yes, it will, but it doesn't always do it that way.
yeah, one time I had to skip a video because it was
Like,
like a distant video from what I was watching.
If you want to actually watch a series in a row, you actually have to go to that YouTuber's page, click on their playlist, and actually click into that playlist, and then it'll watch that playlist all the way through. But if you don't do that, then a lot of times they'll throw in random videos that are related to what you were watching. It may not be a continuation of that series.
One time PewDiePie video popped up and I was like, no.
Not
I hate PewDiePie.
Okay, so you're kind of starting to understand a little bit, correct, on what I'm trying to get through to you on how
Yes.
dangerous technology
Right,
can
very
be.
much.
Okay.
Now, earlier you said some TV shows can actually happen.
Yeah.
Like you're saying,
And how?
basically the Flash could actually happen.
Okay, let me just put it to you this way. There are bits and pieces and truth in everything, I believe. There is so much out there that has truth. It's not necessarily that every bit of it is going to come true or could possibly been true or has happened already. It's just bits and pieces, and you have to kind of learn by using your own senses and the things that we were born with to figure out what they might be either trying to tell us or show us or all the things, and see whether the things are for bad or for good or what it is, because you can use technology in good ways as well. I truly believe that, but where we live in such a time that it's almost impossible to fight back against a lot of the things. I mean, you have to get really, really, really vigilant, maybe that's the word I'm looking for, on trying to figure this stuff out. And you have to really train your brain to think instead of to rely on what someone else is teaching you or telling you. You understand?
Yeah.
Okay, go.
Is it possible to reprogram it to where they can't listen to it?
I don't know. I really don't know.
Because
Well,
that would
the thing is,
require a really good program,
the
but
only-
still.
The only thing that I know of is this is also why a lot of people nowadays, I mean, big, important people in the world, in their jobs, in their career fields, or whatever, they are stepping away from all of it. They're dropping it all and going and living off-grid. Completely just forgetting about technology in general and living a simple life. Because they want to be free. Because they don't like being controlled. And they have figured out in their own heads that the only way to get away from it is to literally get away. And to cut yourself off. Where we don't necessarily want to go that far. At least not yet. But we want to bring our own selves to this awareness of this is what's going on in the world, this is what is actually happening, and we don't even know but maybe a small fraction of it. Hold on. And so we're trying to figure out how to use the technology to also maybe bring awareness to other families and other people by showing them, hey, we're a real normal everyday family. We have struggles just like everyone else. But by our own knowledge and our own things that we're learning and seeing and going out and experiencing, that maybe that will help another family realize that they can do it too. You understand? Okay. So, what were you going to say?
One, is it possible for the government to control the smart cars?
Yes. They have been able to completely tap into all sorts of things.
It sounds like someone's upset.
He's not upset. It's like I can't hear him. But anyway, back to what I was talking about with Big Brother. It's a very serious thing, kids, that you need to understand. That we have let this type of stuff into our lives, and I honestly would love to get rid of it, all of it. But it's also, it's one of those things. I gave in to these things, not necessarily knowing everything, or just gave in because that was what the indoctrination did. Like certain commercials, like I was talking about earlier, that they put things to you in a way that makes you want it, that makes you crave it, that makes you think, man, I really have to have that because it's going to do this for me, or it's going to do that. It's going to be so much easier if I do it with this product, or this thing, or this whatever. And you see, that's where the problem comes in. Because like I said, they don't tell you what's on the other side of that curtain. They do all that stuff with the commercials that they put out to us. They make us think that, we need these things. But it's, the same way that they put out unconstitutional laws. Okay? They have a constitution for a reason. It's important. But we have, as a people, let the people that make our laws or control us in ways set up other laws that violate the Constitution, and which violates our rights. Okay, and they put it to us as, oh well, we're doing this for your safety. It's a safety issue that we have this or we have that, or whatever. We need to stop this thing from going on. And so then we as people, realize, oh yeah, well it would be better if that was banned, or if this was, blah 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 blah. And so, like I said, they put these things to us with entertainment or safety or whatever in mind, where with the laws, it's about safety. And so then we have to give up bits and pieces of our freedom to accept these laws that are unconstitutional. So they're really illegal laws. You understand?
Yeah.
Okay, so, it's also, let's see, hold on. I'm messing on that. Like, for example, like today, we cannot really do anything without asking for permission. We can't buy a house. We can't own a car. We can't drive a car. We can't go hunting or fishing or camp on public lands, except for where they've specifically designated for us to go. Doctors, they won't even treat you without you signing a form saying that you give them permission. And if you don't like the treatment that you end up receiving, they can punish you and turn on you and have other government agencies come in and either lock you up because you're refusing such treatment that you've signed off and said that they can do on you, or on your children. Okay, so like if I were to say, like if you came in, with some kind of illness, but because you're not up to date on your shots, and I'm refusing for them to do shots, but I've already given permission for them to treat you. But I've all of a sudden said, no, you can't treat them that way, and we're leaving. They can call DHS or whichever government agency for that state is, Child Protective Services, and come and take you guys away. Because then they can turn around and say that I'm an unfit parent because I'm not letting, what is the normal to go on. Because I don't want them putting that stuff in your bodies, even though I am putting your best interest at heart. I've already given consent for them to treat you. And so they can take you away. Just like that, by saying that I'm unfit. Because I won't let them do certain things. When we came in for a certain disease or illness, something that was, that was scary to us, that we didn't know how to take care of, we went to them for help. And then they turn on us. It can happen. And it does, all the time. There are many, many, many cases that this happens. I mean, there are all sorts of reasons why they do these things. But anyway, so you see that they use our weaknesses against us. Our fears of, well, it's not safe, or it's not this, if we allow this to continue, or blah, 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 blah. They use that against us to control us. But what we would like to do, what we would like to teach you guys, is to try to figure out how to live in this world, this day and age, with all of these things going on and all this stuff that's working against us. We want to help guide you in the direction of being able to think for yourselves, to not accept something just because someone else says that they have, a degree that tells them that they can do this certain thing this way, or that they wear a badge, so they're automatically in control over your life. I want you guys to learn what is right and what's wrong, and be able to think for yourself. And where I would like to take away all this technology and go live like a hermit, because it scares me. It really does. It scares the living daylights out of me that this stuff is going on. And I would love to just take us all away and just hide. But I know that I feel like that's not my purpose. My purpose is to somehow help teach you guys to be better by fighting against it, or by learning how to fight against it, by using your own thoughts and your own feelings about things, and how, what you can see and feel and touch, all the things, to understand those things. And then also by me helping teach you, and us putting it on YouTube, for example, we're using that technology against the higher powers out there, the higher government agencies, the higher, whatever you want to call it, the people that are controlling us now, and help to bring awareness to other families. Okay? Understand?
Yes. I think they had a question. Nothing. That's okay.
Okay. Anyway, I also want you guys to understand that history is and has been changed. It's being changed in our history books that we read. They've gotten rid of so many of other cultures' histories by completely burning them. Like burning all the documented stuff of certain different civilizations over time. And I want you to realize too that what we know today is only half the truth of history on some things. Because, say for example, in battles of the past, where they completely annihilated another type of civilization, like one civilization and another civilization were warring at each other, and where this one won, and they completely got rid of the other ones, or brought some of those people into their be their slaves. They've completely wiped out the other half of whatever this argument of whatever caused that battle. They've completely wiped out the other side. The winner of the battle always writes the history. So let's just say, what happens if the guy on the wrong side of the team, or the wrong side of the argument, or the evil side of the argument, is the one that won?
The dark
How cute. Anyway, so how do you think that they're going to write that history? Are they going to change it and make themselves seem like the good guys? Yeah. So then we lose that other half, right?
Uh-huh.
And that is the problem with a lot of our history, is so much of it is lost. And they're still doing this stuff today, even without completely wiping out civilizations. They're just taking out stuff of history books that used to be taught. And so you don't even know about it unless you know to look for it. And if you don't even know that it exists, then you're not going to go looking for it, correct? So then that stuff eventually just becomes forgotten. It's just like some of the homesteading type skills of the past. Parents stop teaching their children these things over time, and some of those things are completely lost. We don't know how to do some of the things that they used to do before, because over time it stopped getting taught because of all these modern conveniences that have been given to us. Oh, well, we don't need that old-timey thing anymore. We have this other thing to depend on now, and so then the powers that be have control of us.
And because if you think about it, say for instance, like the Roman aqueducts, we can see them, they're all over Europe. They are engineered to such a perfect degree of slope for the water to flow at a certain speed needed for that city or city-state, whatever, that modern engineers with modern technology a lot of times cannot replicate that degree of accuracy. But yet they didn't have the computers or any other technology. They used what we consider primitive technology to make this stuff. But they were able to do it. And then the Roman concrete, they actually made a waterproof concrete that they could make docks and piers from, and we just recently refigured out that formula in order to do that. And then also, for example, Roman concrete, there's a dome in Rome that's made out of Roman concrete that has been there for, I think, around 1,500 years, and it's still basically in perfect shape. But yet, stuff that we built with concrete 100 years ago is deteriorating like crazy. So the technology that they had to make stuff back then was far superior than what we have now with all this technology that we have now. And then there's Greek fire, for instance. Greek fire was a military weapon that could not be put out with water. Water made it worse. No one can replicate it. They still haven't figured out what Greek fire is. And then they found what's considered to be the first computer, which was found on a Greek ship that sunk probably 2,000-3,000 years ago. I don't know exactly how long ago. But it has all these gears and stuff like that, and it's all rusted together. And we can only speculate what it was for. But it's basically a computer. We have determined that it's as intelligent and as smart as some computers and some of the things that we have figured out that it can do.
So that's what I'm trying to get through, you guys. Is it's not just vaccines and fluoride and chemicals in our products. It's even the modern technology that is being used to dumb us down because it's making us dependent on other things, like our phones. Like nobody remembers phone numbers anymore. It's dependent on being in this phone. We have to pick up the phone and we have to look at it.
And can remember.
Okay, but adults. There's hardly any adults that anymore that can actually tell you everyone that they talk to on the phone's phone number. I mean, I don't even remember Dad's phone number, honestly. I have to look it up every time, and I have to pick up this phone to look at it, and so I'm looking at this screen that who knows what it's doing to me.
Oh, and to show my age, back in the day, we used to only have to dial 4 digits to call someone. We only had to know the last 4 numbers, as long as we were calling within the same city.
So, I mean, there's all sorts of stuff, like I said, that it's making us not as smart as we used to be. I mean, we think of people back in the day as primitive people, but they had more knowledge. They were a lot smarter. But nowadays, we are so dependent on these technologies to get us through the day. So many people, if you took away their smartphone, they would be lost. They wouldn't know where they were going, how to get a hold of anybody, how to do anything. And so, alright, hold on, buddy, we'll do it in a second, okay? But anyway, so you get my point, kids, and you get what I'm trying to get at is now maybe you'll understand a little bit about why I don't like you guys being on the computer and the tablets and the TV as often as you would like to be. Because I know the dangers that are out there in those things. And it bothers me so much. And I'm trying to figure out a way to show you guys these things and put the information to you so that you will become smarter in your own minds, and you will eventually want to learn, the more primitive ways, the more knowledgeable ways of doing things, how to entertain yourself without having all this technology, how to get from point A to point B without requiring a phone or whatever device they come up with by the time you're old enough to be driving. How to do all this, how to live in a basic everyday life and support yourself without having to use and depend on something someone else has created for you that who knows what it's doing to you. Because we have for too long been this family that has, just went with the flow and done all these things and used all this stuff and really not seen any problem with it. And we can tell. Okay, so we've had to take another little break, and we've had some more discussion too, but that we didn't get recorded. But we have another 4-year-old that's inside that is playing, and so we have to take breaks and to do all the things. But anyway, another thing that came up while we were talking was subliminal messages, because we were talking about certain games and how they may, you might see what's on the surface of them, but you don't even necessarily see what is subliminally put out to you, that you don't even necessarily notice. Like, for example, there were adult words written in clouds in the movie The Lion King. And, we won't go into the words that were put up in the clouds, but, in a movie that's for kids, they put out other stuff, other messages that basically you can see, but you don't necessarily see them, but your subconscious picks up on those things, and it can corrupt your mind. What time frame was it when they were doing a lot of subliminal messages a lot? Like in music and on television? Like those like when you played the records backwards and stuff, you could hear other...
They've been doing it for a long time.
Right, well, do you guys know what a record player is?
When you play back, there's going to be some weird things.
No, but like a record player, like the big floppy looking like disc thing, is how we used to listen to
those
music.
black discs that we found in the shed?
Yeah, there's one.
Yeah,
I know
there used to be such a thing called a record player, and you would put that disc just kind of like a CD you push into the little hole. Well, this disc you put onto this thing that spun around and had a little thing.
It's called
with it.
turntable.
Okay, turntable. But anyway, so it normally plays one way. When you manually play it the other way, sometimes there were subliminal messages in there, and those were being played to you without you even knowing it, because they were hidden underneath, like in a layer underneath what you were actually hearing. Does it make sense? So that can be in anything that you're watching, that you're seeing. I mean, it's crazy the types of things that could be in the stuff that we're actually hearing that we can't even necessarily check anymore, because we don't have access to play the record backwards, or whatever, with movies and TV shows and stuff that's on the radio, and all the things that we're exposed to nowadays. We can't just play that stuff backwards to find out for ourselves. So there's that. I mean, there's all those types of things that have been put in play for all sorts of mind control. I mean, if you look into all the CIA's mind control stuff from decades ago, it's
The
pretty,
60s.
it's pretty scary stuff.
And it's called MK Ultra.
Yes. So I mean, there is stuff that used to be classified, like that used to be a classified program that they did, that now we can actually go and read about. And I mean, it is just scary, scary stuff, the things that they put out there. And then that's why I'm saying that the technology that we have today is scary. I mean, we may see it as entertainment and something that helps better our lives, but there's just so much that we do not know about this technology. Things that it can do that we don't know about. Things that may not happen yet either. Maybe they're using these things to, trial and error. They're wanting to get to a certain goal, whatever it may be, and they're testing it out little by little. Like I said, the system builds and builds and builds. I mean, that's why TVs went from a big box. You don't even know the big box that Dad and I had as kids, to what they are now, and to the capabilities that they have now, and how they.
I remember the big giant box of Grammys, like this long.
All right, actually, that's not even.
That's how
that was
thick it is.
actually high tech only a couple of years ago. Just so you know, that was high tech.
It seems like 60s to me.
No. No.
That's what
You have no idea. Just like you guys have no idea what a cassette tape and a cassette player is.
I know what that is.
Okay, what is it then?
Kind of like VCR, I think.
I guess in a way, maybe, yeah.
Well, you don't know what a floppy disk is.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
You know how we have like little thumb drives that you can put into the computer and it'll save stuff?
Those, hydro?
Mm-hmm.
Or 4.5-inch floppy disk.
Oh man, I remember having so many of those, like in a little case. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, because those things were like 128 megabytes. So the amount that you need to equal what the little chip is in this camera would be a stack about this tall off the ground to equal the amount of memory that's in this camera right now.
How much memory is it?
32 gigabytes.
Which is how many hours?
I don't know. It all depends.
But anyway, so I mean, this is just where I'm going with, guys. I want you to start thinking for yourselves. And I know that right now we are a family that has been so addicted to a certain way of life that we've always kind of seen as.
I like change.
Huh?
I like change.
That has we've kind of always just seen it as, well, this is the way of life. This is how people do things. This is how it's supposed to be. We too much have let you guys play the video games and be on your tablets and be on the things as a way, as almost like a babysitter, because we've just been taught that it's easier that way. Let the kids entertain themselves while you get your work done. Send them off to public school while you go and actually make a living. You know, don't worry about what we're teaching them there. We'll do that for you while you can focus on the other things.
Seems stressful.
You know, and just like the governments that are set up, you know, don't worry about it. You know, we're going to protect your safety. We have your safety in our best interest, and we're going to take care of you, so you don't have to worry about that. Don't worry about what we're actually, what we're doing and why we're doing all the things. We're just going to tell you that we're doing it for your safety, and you just need to accept it and keep going on about your day. Keep, stay in the system, and just keep working and keep doing this to feed this and to feed that and to do all the things and to blah 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 blah. I mean, let me think about Tesla. Did you guys know who Tesla is?
I don't know who, but I know what.
Okay, well, did you know that he had found a way?
Mom's talking about Nikola Tesla.
He had found a way for us to have free energy, free electricity. But no, like the companies decided that was not going to happen, and they, gobbled all that up basically, and now they take that energy that could be free to all of us, and now they charge us for it.
Oh, so a good person is now.
He was building a wireless electricity tower.
What are we gonna
So,
kill them?
kind of like how my mom's phones, we have those little pads we set them on, and it charges where it's wireless energy. That's what he was creating 118 years ago.
And you realize that they do this because it's a way of making us stay in control, or making us be controlled, I guess I should say, for them to control us. Because if they take something that can be free and then charge us for it, then that makes us have to go to work and have to be able to make the money to support ourselves and to be able to afford the electricity that they're charging us for that could be free to us. And it's like that with so many different things that should be free, could be free, used to be free, but are not anymore because they like to control everything. You understand?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
where, in my opinion, food should be free because that's an absolute need.
not necessarily.
No.
Well, you still have to think about it. Someone has to spend the time and energy to make the food, to grow the food.
The better way of thinking on that is everyone should be taught how to make their own food, how to grow their own food, how to do those things instead of depending on someone else to do it for them.
And the barter system should be back into play. That's how it used to be back in old times, is like you go to the farmer's market, and if someone had something that they made that you wanted, and you had something that you made that they wanted, you would trade over it.
Yeah. Say that you're really good at making a quilt, and you spent hours of time making this quilt, so you didn't have time to grow your food. So that the guy that's farming and growing his own food didn't have time to make the blanket that he needs for winter, right? And they needed those blankets to survive, but yet they're too busy doing this one, and so then you come to the market, and one brings your quilt, and one brings the food, and then you trade across.
What?
Exactly.
And
it's that type of situation.
That's why gold became a commodity, a currency, is because one thing that one person was making, the person who had the stuff they needed may not wanted or needed the thing that person was making, so they created the currency system so they could sell the good that they had to someone who had something they didn't necessarily need in order to make money to be able to buy what they needed from the other person. And the reason why they use gold and silver is because gold and silver is it's a precious metal, it's a precious resource. There's only so much of it out there. It cannot be created nor destroyed. People's tried to turn other things into metal and it hasn't worked. Or into gold, and it hasn't worked. So those have been a form of currency for a very long time.
Okay, and so you see, this is also where I'm getting at though, is over time we have forgotten these things that we used to do in the past. We have forgotten what it's like to actually barter because we can just go to the store and buy it now. So if we work hard and go make our money and then we go buy the things, then we don't have to do the things, but yet we're still having to work for it, and we're not putting that two and two together. That we can have the freedom that we once had by doing a task and earning, something by going and actually trading for it and bartering for it. So, anyway, I guess that's all I'm really trying to say is that we've forgotten a lot that I would like to teach you guys about and give you the skills necessary to live better, productive lives, but also to be a thinker, not someone who just follows what someone else has said.
Be a leader, not a follower.
That. So, anyway, with that, we will end today because our camera battery is about dead. So, anyway, I hope you enjoy, and make sure you subscribe at the bottom, and that way you can keep up with what we're doing and what we're going on about, and what we're putting into play.
Goodbye.